Hello and welcome to the Dean Park layout tour. In this video I'll be covering all aspects of my layout, from the track, scenic areas, control and storage yards. Hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, please do get in touch. Okay, it seems a good place to start the tour, right at the Waverley signal box. The plans for this were given to me. I say plans, rough plans were given to me, and I've used the dimensions and I've scaled them down to 00 gauge, and it gives a pretty convincing Waverley style signal box, which has not been in use for a few decades now, but it still actually is in position at the tunnels of Edinburgh Waverley, albeit in a pretty rundown and disused state. The walling is from the scale scenes range, and it is ashlar type stone, and it's put on a card backing with a ply frame behind it, so it's very rigid and stable. All the scenic card models you see on my layout have been coated in a spray matte varnish to protect it against UV fading, etc., and to protect against fluctuations in humidity as well. Looking a bit closer at the Waverley style box, the roof is made from MDF, which has been chamfered around the edges just like the real thing, and that is scale scenes, I think it was tarmac or concrete used for the roofing. I altered the settings on the printer to give me a kind of more washed appearance. If we take the roof carefully off, it's got a control panel, fully detailed. Looking at control panels of the time, I made it out of wood with my woodworking skills, so to speak. On the back of the walls you might see the maps of the station, the East End and the West End. It's got LED lighting, there's a clock there, and if I move the camera into the corners you'll see some furniture for office staff and a wee sofa there. The windows for this were laser cut by York Model Making. Looking a bit closer at the high-rise flats here, you'll see that the ground level is slightly lower than that of the upper main lines. These are scale scenes flats, but what I've done to give the angle is I've widened the side here, which is a bit of kit bashing, so it gives the appearance of the flats sitting at an angle. It's a bit better than just slapping them, at 90 degrees to the rest of the layout. I just like the offset look. The really good kit actually, it's got a lot of graffiti, different brick, you can choose different types of brick, and a very 60s flat style. It really goes with my inner city area pretty well. Little bits of detail, we've got bikes leaning up against the brickwork there, we've got bins, and we've got a man relieving himself in the bushes there. That's a nosh figure. And there is garden round about here, as you can probably see a little bushy tree there. And the two towers have been named. One's Dean Park View and one is Dean Park Tower. Most of you who visit the channel will be familiar with the Dean Park station side of the layout. It was the first to be designed and constructed. Heavy use of scale scenes kits here, from the platforms, the large 1.5 metre length roof, and obviously the retaining wall, which is around 5 metres long along the side of the station. All track work is code 100 from Pico, using the streamline turnouts and crossovers, and it's been put down using track pins on top of a cork base, and then ballasted using Woodland Scenics, medium grey blend ballast, and then sealed down using the PVA method, as I'd imagine most layouts use. All coloured light signals are from the CR Signals range, and they're excellent and great value for money, and I've got them connected to Heathcote electronic boards, so they're all fully automated with sensors in the track, so as the train passes it turns to red and goes through the sequence back to green. Okay, starting with the tracks coming out of the tunnel. The line that the 87 is sitting on just now is fully electrified using the Dapple masts, and it is attached directly to the inclines which take it to the upper section main lines and the TMD. However, all other lines can feed onto this outer line, so that all tracks from the station can be tracked up to the upper level, and trains from the upper level can reach any of the platforms down here at the station. It was something I really wanted when I designed the track plan, to have all lines accessible to all levels, and all lines are also accessible to the storage yard as well, which I'll cover later in this video. All points are controlled by Pico point motors, and the ones at the station are still DC controlled. However, the ones in the storage yard are fully DCC controlled. The station will be getting an upgrade in summer 2019 to move over to the DCC Concepts system of point control. The billboards are from 10 Commandments, but the actual pictures are bespoke that I've made up myself from images on the internet, cropped them, fitted them into the size, printed them out on glossy photo paper, then sprayed them with matte varnish, and then spray mounted them onto the billboard itself. The billboard is then attached to the retaining wall. And I've tried to pick billboards from the era in which I model. This kind of waste area at the end of platform 1 has a substation which is fenced off. The substation equipment is from a Hornby Scaledale substation kit, which it was taken from and placed in on the gravel with a brass etched fence painted in a dark green. The dark green colour comes from the colour of the fences used at Waverley Station. The buffer stops are Pico, again painted in the same shade and colours as the ones at Edinburgh Waverley, and the twin light end of line warning lights are from Express Models. You'll see there in the corner disused and abandoned equipment, in this case a pallet. Something I like to do on my layout is add little bits of detail, the finer stuff you might not always see at first glance, but it's there. All station signage was scratch made from plastic card with self-adhesive platform numbers. In addition to the scratch built frames, there is also Bachmann Scenecraft station detailing pack items as well, like the monitors there. Station lighting is from DCC Concepts. Whilst not cheap, it's probably the most realistic for my era, so that's why I went to great lengths and expense to install good quality LED lighting. The station building is a heavily kit bashed scale scenes station building, which I did a bit of work on to fit in the area that I wanted, and the interiors are all there as well, and there's people in the interiors in the upper waiting rooms there, maybe watching the TV or reading a newspaper or a book. All Dean Park signage, whether on the platforms on the platform area in the concourse under the roof or outside of the pavements are bespoke, and they're self-adhesive, as you can see there, and I've scratch built the posts on which they sit. The footbridge there is a dapple kit painted in red oxide, again to match the footbridges in and around the areas of Fife and Lothians, matching the paint used on the Forth rail bridge. Some scratch signage is also in and around the layout, including this sign here, ScotRail, welcome to Dean Park. All figures on the layout are Bachmann Scenecraft figures. The level crossing lights are automatically controlled with sensors in the track. However, the barriers do not operate automatically. There was just not enough space underneath the particular area on the layout to get all the servo motors that are required in to use to make the barriers work. So these are static, but they do lift up and down manually. But say the lights are controlled and give a realistic light flashing pattern, complete with annoying siren. You see down at the very bottom of the screen there the trees at the embankment. There's a bit of wall missing there. I've just been working on this area just now with the embankment, so I've taken a bit of walling off, and this telephone cabinet from unit models usually sits against the wall. As you can see on the right hand side there, the tunnel taking you away to the incline for the upper sections. The corner of the layout has a building site with 3 houses under construction, with porta cabins, building equipment, security fencing, plenty of additional building materials and equipment from scale model scenery, along with bespoke van with Watson Construction decals and weathered. This has been covered in a previous video, the link's at the top of the screen. Moving around the corner to the east end of the layout, as you can see there, the upper section is edged with a retaining wall which is curved, made out of plastic card with Humbro 70 brickwork and different shades of brick to give it a varying tone, with a stone 121 mortar wash. The upper 2 main lines are electrified around this section, and that was used making my scratch built Mark III head spans. Again, I've covered a video on the OHLE head spans, and the link will be at the top of the screen. Moving around the east end of the layout, you can see the 5 main running lines are joined by a passing loop on the upper section. Between the passing loop and the back scene there is the incline track, which you can't see just now, and as I pan round towards the caravan park you will see the incline track appearing. The substation there with substation gantries. The building itself is a Bachmann Scenecraft. Trees on the layout are either from the model tree shop, Woodland Scenics, fine leaf foliage, or seafoam trees that I've scratch made. All back scenes are from ID Back Scenes. The caravan park is something I'm quite proud of. It's something you don't see a lot on layouts, and these are using the Bachmann Scenecraft static caravans. The surrounding area from it is got static grasses, gravel paths from Woodland Scenics range. We've got tarmac road there at the back to allow access to the caravans. We've got picnic tables and bicycles from the Scale Model Scenery range. I've got scratch built seafoam trees surrounding it and blending in very nicely with the ID back scenes. And if you look in the black car in the background there, if I just zoom in, you'll see the yellow posts. They are fire hydrants and a standpipe. At the left hand side door of the first caravan there you'll see a small step. They are scratch built little steps to the occupants of the caravan get in a little bit easier. For this I used 2mm static grass to give a kind of closely mown area and blended it in very gradually to a wider, shall we say, unkept area right up to the fence. The fence is from Scale Model Sceneries as well. Now, I've been called many things, but one thing I have been called that I find quite flattering is the master of small detail, and I do like to add small details to my scenes. Here we've got a rusted old bike chucked over the fence from the camping site and left to basically rust away in the bushes on the embankment. These are from the Scale Model Scenery range. I assembled them, painted them, and then rusted it down using some washes and weathering powders. And I even tilted the handlebars so that the wheel is pointing in another direction, like it's just been tossed over without any care. The signal and telecommunication area was built at the beginning of 2018 and comprises of the scale scenes clasped modular buildings. As you can see, I've done 2 of them there. One at the left, pretty standard as per the instructions. The one on the right is completely scratch built using the scale scenes textured papers. The pavements are made out of plastic card on top of a card base to give it that extra height above the road surface, and the road surface itself is made from the Woodland Scenics road system plaster, and then I've been given it a coating of different greys to represent tarmac. If I remove that van there, you'll also see 2 darker areas where I have patched up the road as to look like it's been, you know, repaired or resurfaced that particular area. The white lines were painted using the templates from Scale Model Scenery. The link for those is at the bottom in the description. And the lighting here is from Kite's Lights. The interiors of the class buildings have been fully decorated and lit. As you can see, the furniture there, the desks, chairs, computers, typewriters, filing cabinets, fire extinguishers, and even a coat stand, as you can probably see through the window there. These were bought at Scale Model Scenery. With the lighting, I tried to use quite a big resistor on the LEDs to not make it like it was too bright. I'm trying to get a realistic appearance for night times here, especially with the interior of the buildings. You see a lot of buildings that they've got LEDs that are far too strong and it practically lights up the surrounding area. I've tried with this to use a large resistor with a micro LED to give it that kind of yellow dim look as you would see in buildings right from the 80s to almost the present day. Telltale sign of this is there's windows along the back of the building, and it's not lit up the HST too much at the background. As you can see, the background is in darkness, so therefore the light hasn't bled everywhere. Moving round to the real focal point of the S&T is the test track facility. It's got relay cabinets there with one of the doors open, and you can see a gentleman walking towards it with his high-vis vest on. You've got other workers sitting around the area and working away on the track. You've got a red signal there and it's controllable, so I can change it to green. You've got mock-up speed restrictions, point motors, drainage, cable trunking, AWS ramps, and at the very end there you've got a plate layers trolley, or engineer's trolley. What I've tried to do obviously with the signal and telecommunications training facility, that is kind of a mock-up of a rail scene. I've used photographs from the internet to replicate that. Looking around the back of the signal and telecommunications facility, you can see some yard junk. I've got the red chips, which kind of gently fade away into just basically muck and mud and earth. I've got some Scale Model Scenery sleepers there, all painted and weathered. I've got an old LNER 20 mph speed restriction sign there, rusting away. I've got some Bachmann Scenecraft disused pallets. I've got some 10 Commandments steel coils there, painted and rusted. I've got a small transformer box there linked to the substation, and I've got a gate there so workmen and authorised personnel can access the substation area. It's all been blended in with undergrowth from the static grass and the Woodland Scenics range of underbrush and bushes. The very last bit of detail with the Signal and Telecommunications Centre is we've got this access gate to the main line, and you can see the ground's worn away where people will use it more, so that's obviously not weeded over, and I've got a small clamp style fencing there to stop people walking straight out onto the main line. The retaining wall cutting section, which takes the main line under the TMD section, splits into two. We've got basically a 3 metre passing loop on the right hand side where that DMU is sitting. We've got scale model scenery relay box platforms there with two Wills relay boxes, fully interior decorated on the right hand one with the door open and the workman at it. We've got an access ladder there which will eventually link to the TMD area. Speed restriction signs, dapple overhead masts, and again fully decorated with static grass, bushes, underbrush, cable trunking, and the tunnel mouth have been weathered. The tunnel portal was designed for me by Justin at Scale Model Scenery. What goes at the left hand side of the TMD will tie in hopefully with the back scene. As you can see on the back scene there's some industrial units, worn down derelict warehouses and stuff, so I'll try and keep them exposed, but where the back scene is less interesting, just maybe trees and stuff, I'll get some low relief buildings made to kind of tie in with the industrial area and, you know, be part of the TMD. It's kind of an ongoing progress just now. It's still on the kind of the drawing board. Plans for this area are not finalised yet. There will probably be some form of scenic break around about here. You know, maybe a board going across with some factories or something on top, so that the tunnels will take the track from the TMD side round to the Waverley Garden style area. But that's not really set in stone yet. This area will be a small cutting just like the one at the other end of the TMD with retaining walls. And a kind of industrial area will be on the upper baseboards there to kind of tie in with the factories and facilities on the back scene. This is the west end of the layout. It'll probably be the last to receive all scenic material and landscaping. At the right hand side there you've got the train on the curve, which is the incline coming from the storage yard. It then feeds back in at the end of the TMD. Full access to the TMD as well from the lower areas. You've got the two upper main lines there curving round. My corners on the upper main have a cant on them, or an angle, to allow realistic curving, and I'll go to that in a minute. The lower main lines have been ballasted and weathered there. They go into the tunnel, which then appear out at the station. This area will probably be some loosely based on Waverley Gardens area in Edinburgh. That's a long way down the line for scenic work. This area here will be the town scene, and it'll have full roads, buildings, residential, business areas, the railway cutting through the middle of it. The baseboard on the right hand side is actually sitting a little bit lower than the baseboard just at the left hand side of your screen there. That's deliberate to give it a bit of impression of height and a bit of variation. And again, this will probably be one of the later areas to receive scenic treatment, along with the West End Waverley style gardens. As I just indicated, these lines on the upper main lines have a cant going around the curve, so the train, you know, tilts as it goes round, as per real life. You'll probably see on the right hand one there this kind of foam jutting out a little bit. These are actually purpose built foam sections that you get, and I'll put the maker's name in the description of the video or on the bottom of the screen, to allow a gradual transition from non-canted rail, or super elevation as they call it, into the cant and then back out again. It sits at about 1.5 to 2 millimeters at its peak. I've gone for a slight cant here, so you're probably looking at 1.5 millimeters of a tilt from, you know, left to right as you see it. When you see the coaches going round, you do realise the cant on it. I see a lot of people using bits of plastic card on the outer side of the track to get that cant. You can do that as well. However, you've got to be very careful when you transition from a flat area or a flat track into a cant that it doesn't, you know, derail the train or just look silly. So I've gone for a subtle one, so there's no sudden appearance of transition. The control system for Dean Park was upgraded during 2018 from the Hornby Elite system to the ECOS, which is an ESU command station. It really is one of the top of the range controllers, giving full control over trains, accessories, points, and it works very well with the DCC concepts, decoders for point control, mimic boards, and everything really you need for a model railway, and it's so easy to use. It's not cheap at over £600, but you know, it's a system that's going to allow Dean Park to expand, and basically the controllability that I've now got of the layout is vastly improved as a result. At the background there you'll see the two CCTV cameras, which I'll take you around to the storage yard in the next clip. These allow me to control fully the movements off scene. The cameras can vary between, I've got 4 cameras and 2 screens, so I can flick between views to basically marshal and shunt any of my locos and rolling stock without me having to go under the layout to do it manually. All the points are controlled using my Mimic control panel, using the DCC Concepts equipment. However, I can also use the ECOS to control all the points as well. This is the entrance to the storage yard. From the lower section of the layout, comes all the way in and it branches out. You can see some sidings I've added in recently. Excuse the truss. And it branches out, and the map from the storage yard control panel is the same as the layout of the track here. If I spin the camera around, you'll see the CCTV cameras. I've got 2 there, one facing each way, and I've got another one mounted there, as you can see in the distance. And all the way around the corner there, off to the right hand side, is the running rail that takes you up to the incline for the upper section. The embankment at the lower part of the screen there has just been completed, and that ties in the impression of a cutting, one side with retaining wall, one side with an embankment, and the track down here is a kind of disused siding which becomes more weathered and run down and overgrown as it gets towards the buffer stop, which will be covered when it's finished in the January 2019 update. This is the control centre of the storage yard. These DCC Concepts decoders, of which I've got 3 at the storage yard alone, are all linked into the point motors, as you can probably see by the wiring there. And they've all been assigned an address, which is linked into the control panel and the ECOS, as you can see, 113, 114, etc. It may look complicated, all the wiring, but it's very simple to actually understand and wire up this DCC Concepts equipment. This area here is my rolling road. I use DCC Concepts rolling road equipment for this. They're really good and easy to use, and this particular bit of track can be used for programming locos, running them in, testing them and giving them a service. And I can flick between DC and DCC with the toggle switch there, depending on what I'm doing. Maybe the loco is DCC ready and not fitted with a decoder. One at the back there is going to be another one that I'm just in the process of putting together. hope you enjoyed that video. If you have, why not check out one of my earlier videos? Or if you'd like something from the Network South East region, click on Richard from Everard Junction. The links are on the screen.